So, what is working for exposure, and why is it so controversial? Hi everyone, welcome back to the Creative Exploration series. This week, I wanted to talk about the idea of working for exposure, both why it's such a hotly debated topic and why it might actually have value to your career as an artist, especially when just starting out. Now, before I say anything else, I do want to express that these are just my personal opinions. I had some very informative conversations on Twitter while writing this script, which helped nudge the direction of this final video. But this is all still very much my viewpoint on the subject. Just keep an open mind here. Now, while I do feel that exposure has value, I want to start by being extremely clear that there are lots of reasons why it can be an incredibly bad move for yourself, your art, and your overall business as an artist. This is because there are plenty of clients out there who know that you're hungry for work and that the competition out there is incredibly fierce. These people will try to take advantage of that. Especially to vulnerable artists who are just starting out, and getting any kind of job can be a monumental task. And Saving Princess lays it out very well that there are a lot of people out there who will manipulate you into working for exposure in lieu of actually paying you. These people promise greatness, and they should really just be avoided like the plague. If you're asked to work exclusively for exposure, especially by an established business, they are most likely trying to take advantage of you. And there are clients out there who will just never pay, regardless of their own situation. These are definitely people to avoid. Trust me, you'll know when you meet one. There are plenty of stories online about people getting downright abusive to artists who refuse to work for them. Now, a long time ago, I personally set up some rules on when I would lower my rates in exchange for exposure. And I highly recommend that you have some similar rules so you know when you should decline a project. And also, if your rule is don't ever discount my rates in exchange for exposure, that's okay too. Everyone and everyone's situation is different. My first rule is that if the client intends to make money from this project, either through sales, attendance, or mobile ads, you deserve to get paid. If the project is for charity or for fundraising, this rule can sometimes get a pass depending on the situation. Second, if you feel pressured in any way, reconsider the job. You must feel 100% confident that this project has value beyond simple payment. This is a decision that only you can make. If the client is pushing you towards this, then back away and move to a different project. You do not want the client to be manipulating you into doing something that you are not comfortable with. Third, you have to feel comfortable that the exposure that you'll get from this project will be worthwhile. If your client doesn't have a huge presence online or doesn't really share the names of the people that worked in the project, it's really not worth working with them for exposure. In fact, you're really not working for exposure anymore, you're working for free. So I would research the client's social media and see how they interact with people and, the kind of reach that they have with their messages. And above and beyond all of this, I want to assume that you make art because you enjoy doing it. There is great value in just being part of a fun project. There have been lots of quick jobs that I've done basically for free because it was a lot of fun to work with. Remember, art should be fun. Now, Brent makes a really good point here that those who generally can give great exposure also have the funds available to pay you as well. But I'd like to think that full payment and only exposure aren't binary decisions. If the client, for some reason, can't pay your full asking price, you should internally consider if lowering your rates is worth the wider reach your work will see if you still work with them. And that's really the crux of this. I feel that you shouldn't discount the idea of exposure having its own intrinsic value. When you lower your normal rates to meet a client's budget, you are sacrificing getting paid now to reach a wider audience and opening the possibility of getting paid by many other people in the future. The amount you're willing to discount yourself relies very heavily on the social reach of your client. When negotiating rates, a client with thousands of fans is worth more than someone with a couple dozen. And this is definitely a gamble, which is likely one of the reasons why exposure is such a stigmatized idea. Taking risks can be disastrous for your business, but I strongly feel that sometimes taking a very calculated risk can be worth it in the long run. Which brings me to the main point of this video. Exposure can have an exceptional amount of value because it's an investment into landing future projects. Getting your work recognized is incredibly difficult, especially when just starting out. Developing a fan base and finding your personal niche isn't something that happens overnight, but being able to attach your name onto other people's projects grants you the ability to get your work out there much further and also display to other potential clients that you are able to work professionally with others. And personally, I've released and distributed a ton of free music, which is available for anybody who wants to use it. And because of that, I've garnered tons of great connections with people, as well as paying jobs. And this is also a very similar strategy that Kevin MacLeod uses from Incompetech. And I'm sure you're very familiar with some of his music. It's used everywhere. And this, to me, is still working for exposure, even if there is no direct client. It's still building my portfolio and increasing my reach to more people in the future. And that extra reach also helps you build a stronger base of fans who are interested in your work directly. It's incredibly valuable to have people who will share your work and support you when you release something new. And having a strong fan base can actually turn the tables on this entire argument as well. You can most likely charge more when you have a strong following because it'll guarantee a boost in sales for the project. I'm always inspired how musicians with a large following can announce that they're working with a developer and the game that they're working on actually gets a really big boost. I don't know about anybody else, but I had never really heard of Hyper Light Drifter until Disasterpeace said he was working on the music for it. And finally, it's really important to hone your craft and continue to get the experience in the professional community. Being able to work with clients and better understand how to handle yourself in all sorts of business and creative situations will assist you greatly in growing as an artist. In some ways, this might be considered similar to taking an apprenticeship in a craft. You usually have to work for very, very cheap for a little while you learn the system before you can move up and get your own kind of business going. And that's an analogy I've seen a lot, but I don't always agree with it. I do feel that you should always get paid or compensated in some way. Knowledge is important, for sure, but knowledge isn't the only compensation that you should expect. Art is a tricky thing to nurture in a system that is vastly based on consumption. But be wary of making the naive mistake that the value of your art is simply the price tag that you attach to it. What I mean is, somebody with no real portfolio or professional experience can still ask for industry standard rates, but it's very unlikely that they'll find someone willing to pay that rate. Because it's just too much of a risk on the client side, and business is all about mitigating risks. You have to start small and build a network of trust inside the industry to be able to charge more in the future. And lowering your rates in lieu of building trust, connections, and a solid portfolio is something that really should be considered. Now, the main cry against the idea of valuing exposure is that it devalues the industry, which honestly I feel is absolutely wrong. People looking for free art can already find a ton of it online. It's readily available and incredibly easy to find. And yes, as an independent artist, your own personal budget plays a huge factor into this. If you do art full-time, you have much less flexibility with reducing your rates. And I can understand how this would bring greater pressure to not only find better jobs, but to chastise those willing to compromise their price for the opportunity to get noticed. But this is blaming the industry for your problems. The work is always out there, and there are always people willing to pay. You just need to get better and to get better recognized out there. And Saving Princess wraps this up very neatly that the industry runs on connections. It's not always what you know, but it's who you know. Sometimes sacrificing a bit of your payday to get a job will lead to much greater things in the future. Connections with prior clients not only leads to future work with those clients, but also work from people those clients know. It's always great to know a guy who can deliver something really incredible. Creating a quality product and delivering that product professionally and on time will get you more work. But you gotta get that job first. And that's the harsh reality of it. There are people out there better than you, and certainly way better than me. But there are also always people out there willing to pay for quality work. You just have to be good enough and have the right connections to make them want to pay you instead of somebody else. In the end, you have to consider what's best for yourself, your finances, your social connections, and really just your joy of creating. There is definitely a balance there, and the sooner that you figure it out, the more effective you'll be at getting out there. So, what do you think of this? Let me know below. I'm actually really interested in reading your reaction to this video. Also, if you found this insightful or thought-provoking, please do me a solid and click the like button and share this video to keep the YouTube number crunchers happy. That would really mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Be remarkable. A huge thank you to these amazing Patreon subscribers. Your support helps continue the Creative Exploration series. Also, I now have a Trello board for suggesting and voting on future Creative Exploration episodes. You can find the board at trello.abstractionmusic.com or click the link in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.